Hey guys, tonight we journey into a world you think you know, but trust me, you don't. You've seen the images in books and movies, muddy faces, patched cloaks, thatched roofs, and wooden pitchforks. A life lived in fields and famine, prayer and pestilence. But tonight, we're going deeper. We're not talking about knights or castles, not lords or ladies. We're walking through something far more ordinary and far more real. The full, quiet, often miserable life of a medieval peasant. From the moment you cry your first breath to the moment you give your last. This is the journey you never chose, the path almost everyone in your world walks, and no one escapes. We'll start with birth, how, where, and why it happened so often, and ended so suddenly. We'll follow you through childhood, where work replaced play and danger shadowed every season. Then adulthood, full of hunger, cold, prayer, obligation, superstition, and the never-ending work of surviving just one more winter. We'll end, of course, where every peasant story ends: death. Often early, rarely dignified, but not always forgotten. Before we begin, take a moment to like the video if you enjoy drifting through the dustiest corners of history. Subscribe to the channel for more sleepy journeys into lives less comfortable, and comment what time it is where you're listening from. I always love seeing how many of you are curled up around the world, chasing sleep with me. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft hum. Get comfortable under a blanket beside a candle or wherever you feel warmest. Let your mind loosen its grip on the present, and let me take you back. Tonight's journey, the entire life of a medieval peasant from birth to death. It begins in a small, smoky room. A woman is screaming. A midwife is sweating. The fire is low, the air thick. And somewhere beneath all of that, you arrive. You wake up, but not in a bed, not in the warm comfort of cotton sheets or a memory foam mattress. You don't stretch. You don't roll over. You don't check your phone. You scream. You're a newborn. Your lungs are tiny, but your voice is loud. The world is cold, damp, and very suddenly real. The air you inhale is thick with smoke animals and something that smells unmistakably like burnt porridge. You're lying in a wooden cradle if your family is lucky enough to have one. Otherwise, you're wrapped in rags and tucked beside your mother in the corner of a one-room hut. She's pale. She's exhausted. And she's one of the lucky ones because she's still alive. Your birth was messy. They all are. There were no hospitals, no painkillers, no sterile gloves or heart rate monitors. Just your mother, a midwife, and a few experienced women who've seen this before, sometimes too many times. They boiled water, whispered prayers, tied off the cord with a strip of cloth, and hoped. That was the best medicine available, and it worked this time. The room is dark. Light comes only from the fire in the center of the floor. There's a hole in the roof for smoke to escape, but not much of it does. Everything smells like ash and wool. And you, new to the world, blink and squint and scrunch your tiny face as you try to understand anything at all. You don't understand, of course. You're just a bundle of instinct and skin swaddled tight to keep out the chill. Your first view of life is dim and brown and blurry. Your parents are peasants. That means you are too. You were born into your social class, and you will not escape it. There are no scholarships, no upward mobility, no great reversal of fortune coming. The ceiling of your life was set before you ever opened your eyes, and that ceiling is low and made of thatch. But for now, none of that matters. You are held. You are fed. Your mother places you to her chest, and you drink instinctively. Her heartbeat is the closest thing to peace you've ever known. You sleep. You wake. You cry. You sleep again. Your first days are silent observation. The way the fire moves, the scratchy sound of your father's voice, the creaking of the door, the sharp yelp of the dog. You memorize them without trying. They become your world. If you're lucky, you live, because many don't. The first year is the most dangerous. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, no knowledge of germs. A simple fever can end you. A cough, a rash, a bad wind. If you survive the first 12 months, your parents breathe a little easier. Just a little. There's no nursery, no crib, no separate room. You live where everyone lives, shoulder to shoulder. You sleep with your mother or in a cradle pulled near the fire. At night, the fire is banked with ash to keep it burning slowly. You are bundled in layers of linen, often soaked in animal fat or ashes to keep away pests. Your name is not given immediately. Some wait until baptism, which might take place weeks after birth, just in case. Because no one wants to name a child they may soon have to bury. When you are finally named, it's often after a saint or a family member or someone who died. It's not poetic. It's practical. You're bathed rarely because clean water is precious, and heating it takes hours. More often, you're wiped down with a damp cloth. Your cloth diapers, if they exist, are reused, rinsed in cold water, and hung near the fire. You are loved, fiercely, but without softness. Affection is quiet, a hand on your head, a lullaby mumbled while stirring porridge, a mother whispering prayers over your cradle. There is no doting, no gifts, no baby books. Just survival and hope. As you grow, you are carried in a sling or tied to your mother's back. She works while you watch. She kneads bread, tends fire, feeds chickens, mends clothes, and you tiny bundled, ever observing, take it all in. The world around you is rough. The floor is dirt. The walls are mud and straw. The air is always filled with smoke, sweat, and the faint smell of dung. People come and go, family, neighbors, animals. Yes, animals. The goat is inside the hut. So is the pig if your family has one. The chickens may sleep in a basket near the hearth. You don't question it. You don't know any different. Outside, the world is colder, louder. There are barking dogs, crying children, men shouting, hooves on frozen ground. You're not old enough to walk, but your ears are always open. This is how you learn. Your mother rocks you gently when she has time. Your father glances at you between tasks, nods in approval, and returns to work. The midwife visits now and then, checking your breath, your color, your size. She says you're healthy. Everyone breathes a little easier, but they don't relax, because in a few months you'll start crawling, and when that happens, danger becomes constant. The fire, the tools, the animals, the cold, all of it is waiting. Your world is not padded or gated. It's real and sharp. Still, for now, you sleep. Softly, briefly, often. The fire flickers. Your mother hums a song she half remembers, and outside the wind rises, scattering straw across the frozen yard. But in your corner, you are warm. You are small. You are a peasant, and your life has just begun. You wake again. But now you're older, maybe 5, maybe 6. You don't remember how many winters you've lived through. No one keeps track with candles on a cake. You know your age only by the chores you've been given and the way your clothes no longer fit. The room is dim, cold, always cold. You're curled beside your younger sibling, tangled in a wool blanket that smells like smoke milk and mud. Your parents are already up. You hear them moving near the fire, murmuring, coughing. A pot clinks. Water is ladled. Your mother stirs something slowly. You know the sound. Pottage. Again. You stretch your legs and shiver. Your tunic, a hand-me-down perhaps from a cousin, perhaps from a dead uncle, is stiff with the cold. The hem is frayed. The sleeves were never quite the same length. You don't complain. You pull it over your head and rub your arms for warmth. Time to eat. You sit near the fire, cross-legged. The floor is packed dirt, dusted with ash. A few scraps of straw cling to your tunic. The pot is already steaming. It's a mix of barley onion, a dried herb or two, and some root vegetable that no one bothered to name. You don't ask what's in it. You just hope it's warm. Your bowl is wood carved roughly. You've had it as long as you can remember. Your spoon, too. You're expected to keep them clean. You try. Breakfast is silent. The younger children are still waking. Your father eats quickly. He'll be out in the fields soon, or patching a fence or checking traps. Your mother eats slowly, keeping an eye on the baby. The pottage is bland. It sticks to your spoon, your teeth, your ribs. You blow on it even though it's barely hot. You chew slowly, not because it's delicious, but because you've learned to make each bite last. There might not be more until evening. Sometimes on rare days there's a scrap of cheese or a slice of dried apple, but not today. You drink ale. Yes, even as a child. Small ale, weak, watered down, brewed low and slow. It's safer than the well which froze last week or the stream which smells of rotting leaves. The ale is flat, sour, but you drink it. Everyone does. After the meal comes cleaning. There's no soap, not really, not the kind you'd recognize. There's ash, sometimes lye if your mother's boiled enough with wood and rainwater. There's a basin in the corner with yesterday's wash water, gray, cloudy, cold. You wipe your hands. You splash your face. It stings. You blink back the chill and dry your face with a bit of rough cloth. It was once white. Now it's the color of dust. There is no mirror. You've seen your reflection in a puddle once or twice. It was fleeting, wobbly. Enough to know your hair is brown and wild and always in your eyes. Enough to know your cheeks are smudged and your teeth uneven. Your mother tries to comb your hair with a wooden comb. You flinch. It pulls. You complain. She hushes you and keeps combing. Lice are common. Everyone has them. No one says the word. You scratch without thinking. Teeth are another matter. You don't brush them. You rub them with a cloth sometimes, or chew a twig. If there's sage or mint growing near the woods, you chew that too. It tastes sharp, clean. For a few minutes, your breath doesn't smell like stew. There's no bathroom. You go outside. Always. Sometimes it's a ditch or a designated corner behind the shed or the woods beyond the fence. You squat. You do your business. You clean yourself with straw or snow. You return hoping no one noticed how long you were gone. There is no modesty. There is only necessity. Inside the floor is swept, with a broom made of twigs bound together. Your sister does it most mornings. You help sometimes. The rushes on the floor are damp. They smell faintly of rot, but they soak up spills. That's what matters. There is no bath, not unless it's Sunday and warm enough for it. Even then, it's a tin basin pulled near the fire filled with heated water and herbs. You bathe in order from oldest to youngest. The water grows darker with each sibling. You go near the end. You learn to bathe fast. You dry with a cloth. You shiver. You put on the same tunic as before. Washing clothes is hard. It happens once a month, maybe. You don't smell good. No one does. But you don't notice. Because it's your life. It always has been. You're expected to help now. Fetch water, feed chickens, turn the compost, hold the baby, stir the pot. You don't ask if you're old enough, you simply do what you're told. There is no time to play. Not yet. That comes later if the work is finished early or if the adults aren't looking. But for now, you scratch your scalp, rub your eyes, and step outside into the cold light of morning. You wipe your nose on your sleeve. You start the day. Because you're a peasant child. And the world is already waiting. You don't think much about your clothes. They're not outfits. They're tools, shields, itches you wear. You put them on in the morning and peel them off when they're too stiff to bend in. And most days they barely keep the cold out. Your tunic is wool, always wool, scratchy, heavy, full of little bumps where it's been mended and remended by your mother's tired hands. The color is hard to say, once maybe brown now, somewhere between smoke and earth. It reaches your knees, barely. That'll have to do until another cousin dies or grows out of theirs. Beneath it, if you're lucky, you wear a linen shirt. Linen comes from flax grown and spun by someone who knew what they were doing. It's thinner, smoother, but no warmer. Still, it keeps the wool from rubbing your skin raw. Your legs are covered by hose, long tubes of woven wool, each tied to a belt, or more often just pulled up as far as they'll go and kept there by hope. They sag. They itch. They never match. But they keep the mud off your knees. On your feet, Phil. That depends. If it's cold, you wrap them in rags. If you're very lucky, those rags are dry. You might own shoes, leather ones with soft soles and bent toes. They're stiff when frozen, squishy when soaked, and slippery on anything but dry dirt. But they keep the frostbite away. Usually. In summer, you might go barefoot. Not because it's fun. Because the shoes wear out, and you'd rather save them for when your toes might fall off. Your cloak is your most valuable possession. It's heavy wool dyed with whatever grew nearby, walnut if you're lucky. Onion skins, lichen. It's full of holes and smoke and memories. It's lined with fur, maybe rabbit. Maybe not. You don't care. It's warm, sort of. At night, it's your blanket. When you go to market, it's your pride. When it rains, it's your roof. When it tears, you cry. It fastens at your shoulder with a simple pin or a knot. You wrap it tightly in the wind and looser when you need to work. There is no wardrobe, no trunk of spare clothes. You own what you wear, and you wear what you own. Maybe one other shift hidden in a bundle under your bed. Maybe. And that bed. Let's talk about shelter. Your home is not what you'd call a house. It's a hut. Wattle and daub. That is woven sticks plastered with a thick mixture of clay, straw, dung, and whatever else stuck. It was built by hand. Maybe by your grandfather. Maybe by your neighbors. Maybe both. The walls are soft in places. They weep when it rains. The roof is thatch, tightly packed straw tied in bundles and laid thickly. In summer it buzzes with insects. In winter it drips. Snow piles up. Sometimes it collapses. You always check the ceiling before bed. The floor is dirt, hard packed, cold. Sometimes straw is laid down to soften the blow. Rushes if someone thought to gather them from the riverbanks. You walk barefoot across it. You get used to the sensation of grit between your toes. Your bed is in the corner. A wooden frame, maybe. More likely a sack of straw on the floor with a blanket or two piled on top. You share it. With your siblings. sometimes your cousins, definitely with fleas and mice. Privacy doesn't exist. There's one room, maybe two. Your parents sleep on the bigger pile of straw near the fire. You and the others sleep on the thinner one near the wall. The baby sleeps wherever the crying stops. The hearth is the heart of the house. It's in the middle. Just a pit, really, or a ring of stones. It smokes always. There's no chimney, just a hole in the roof where the smoke leaves slowly and the cold enters quickly. The air is never clear. Your eyes are used to watering. The walls are bare except for what's useful. Hooks for cloaks, baskets of herbs, garlic hung to dry, maybe a cross carved into the wood to keep bad spirits out. Maybe a scrap of cloth someone swears was blessed by a monk. The door is wood, heavy and crooked. It doesn't shut all the way. A beam across it keeps the wind and wolves at bay. Your windows are slits with wooden shutters. No glass. Just cold drafts and flickers of gray light. There's a loft if your family is ambitious. A low platform under the roof where the older children sleep. It's warmer up there, but the smoke gathers too. And when it rains, you all crowd near the fire, wrapped in your cloaks, waiting for the leaks to stop. When it freezes, you pile together like animals, pressed so close you can hear each other's heartbeat. When it storms, you hold your breath and hope the roof stays on. But it's yours. It holds your food, your fire, your family. It may be cracked and leaking, crawling with pests, thick with soot and noise and need, but it is home. You know every creak of the floor, every soft spot in the wall, every board that shifts underfoot. You know where to stand to catch the warm air from the fire. You know how to move when someone's sleeping. You know how to stay still when the wind howls. And when you return to it after a day of hauling water, gathering kindling, or feeding chickens, you step through the crooked doorway and feel, just for a moment, safe. You're older now. Not grown, but no longer a child. Somewhere between 12 and 16, depending on who's asking. Old enough that no one carries you. Old enough that no one reminds you when it's time to work. Because you're always working. There are no school bells, no backpacks, no classes. Your education is here on the land, in the hut, among the tools and the animals and the endless repetition of chores passed down like heirlooms. The day begins early, before sunrise, often in the dark. You stir when the fire's stoked, when the pot rattles, when the door creaks and your father steps into the frost without a word. You pull on your tunic, your hose, your cloak if it's cold. You eat quickly. Pottage again, or crusts of bread, or just a sip of ale and a bite of hard cheese. And then it begins. Every season has its labor. In spring, the fields wake. You help plow if your family has oxen, or you dig by hand, back-bent shoulders aching. You scatter seeds with numb fingers, praying for rain that comes too early, or not at all. In summer, it's planting, weeding, chasing birds, breaking stones, hauling water, patching fences. You sweat. You itch. You get blisters that burst and harden and keep going. In autumn, it's harvest, the most brutal, back-breaking stretch of all. You rise early, cut grain with a sickle, bind it into sheaves, stack it, dry it, beat it to loosen the grain, winnow it in the wind, bag it, store it, count it, and you pray it lasts the winter. Then winter comes, and with it a different kind of labor. The days are shorter. The light dies early. But the work does not. You break ice to water animals, chop firewood, mend tools, sharpen blades, Stir thick, sour pots over smoky fires. You always carry wood, water, dung, food. You help slaughter pigs. You do not flinch. You do not cry. You hold the bucket. You hold the knife. You salt the meat. Smoke it. Hang it. Watch it. Smell it. If it turns, you say nothing. You cut around the rot. The animals need constant care. Chickens are fed. Their eggs gathered carefully. The goat must be milked. The pig must be kept warm. The dog fed scraps. The cat tolerated for catching mice. You muck out the pens. You shovel dung. You haul it to the compost pit where it freezes solid and waits for spring. You fix the roof when it leaks. Patch the daub when it cracks. Brace the door when the wind roars. You do it all. Because if you don't, no one will. There is no break room, no union, no holiday. Just need. Tools are handmade, maintained, treasured. You carry a dull blade with pride. It means someone trusts you not to cut off your own fingers. You learn fast. How to tell good soil from bad. How to hold a hen without spooking it. How to cut turnips with one hand and hold a baby in the other. How to make a fire in the rain. How to judge the sky. You learn to hide injuries, a twisted ankle, a bruised knee, because resting isn't always an option. You do what you can every day with what you have. No one thanks you. That's not how things work here. Thanks is a warm meal, a nod, a silent look across the table when the roof doesn't leak and the stew doesn't burn. The church makes demands too. You owe labor to the Lord, week work. Assigned days where you leave your own field behind to work His. Repairing fences, digging ditches, hauling stones for a barn you'll never use. It's not fair, but it's what's expected. And if you don't go, if you protest, you'll pay. With coin, or food, or your place in the village's narrow, unyielding social chain. Sometimes there's a rare job, a thatcher needing help, a cart mender looking for a spare hand. You go. You listen. You do your best. Maybe they'll give you a coin, or half a loaf, or nothing. You never complain. You know better. Because this is life. It doesn't change. It doesn't pause. You work because you're alive. You're alive because you work. And as the sun sets, as you trudge home on aching feet, cloaked in sweat and soot and silence, you don't expect applause. Just warmth. Just the fire. Just the bowl. Just the place on the floor where you'll sleep tonight. Because tomorrow it begins again. You are a peasant, and work is the shape of your life. You've come to believe that the world doesn't run on logic. It runs on signs, on whispers, on ritual, on fear, and above all, on belief. In the Middle Ages, belief isn't something you choose. It surrounds you, shapes you, lives in the stones and the smoke and the silence after someone coughs in the night. You believe in God, not in theory, not in metaphor. God is real, watching, listening, judging. He sees every step, every slip, every grain you take from the storehouse without permission. He hears the curses muttered when your knife breaks or your bread burns. He knows when you miss Mass. And you do not miss Mass. The church bell calls across the fields on Sundays and holy days. Low, slow, echoing across the land like a command. You walk sometimes for miles over frozen mud and under gray skies because not going invites questions. And questions invite punishment. The church is cold stone vast. It smells of incense and damp wood. You kneel, you cross yourself. You repeat words in Latin you don't understand because the priest understands them and he speaks for God. He tells you that suffering is holy, that your poverty is blessed, that heaven belongs to the meek, the silent, the obedient. You believe him, you must. Because what if he's right? You tithe a tenth of your grain, your eggs, your labor. Even when you have nothing to spare. You light candles for the dead. You bow your head when passing across. You never speak God's name lightly. You fear hell more than hunger, and hell is real, not a metaphor for bad choices. No, it's a place hot, crowded, screaming, eternal. You've seen it painted on the church walls. You've heard it described in detail. Hooks, flames, worms, demons. It is waiting, and it doesn't wait long. So you confess. You repent. You keep your hands clean, your thoughts pure, your voice low. But the church isn't the only force you trust. There are older things, deeper things, things no priest dares speak of. You believe in signs, a blackbird tapping your window, a candle that gutters without reason, a loaf of bread that cracks down the center. These are not accidents. These are warnings. You believe in charms, an iron nail driven into the threshold, a sprig of rosemary over the door, a piece of red thread tied around your wrist. They keep the sickness out, the spirits away, the bad luck from taking root. You believe in witches. You say you don't, but you do, everyone does. You know who they are. The woman who mutters when she walks, the man who whistles at night, the girl whose milk always curdles. They've seen too much, said too little, lived too long without marrying. You never accuse them, not unless you have to. Because if you're wrong, God forgive you. And if you're right, well, that's worse. You believe in saints, not just the ones in the big stories, George and Mary and Peter, but your saint, the one your village honors, the one whose shrine stands near the well or under the old tree. You offer her flowers. You whisper to her in the dark. You believe she listens, because she has to. You believe in relics, a bone, a vial of holy water, a cloth that once touched a dead man, who touched a bishop, who touched a saint. You don't ask questions. You just believe. You believe in the devil, too. He's not just in hell. He walks the earth, hides in corners, slips into weak hearts. You've seen him in the eyes of men who beat their wives, in the withered crops, in the wolf that won't leave. You protect yourself with signs. You make the cross with your fingers. You spit 3 times over your shoulder. You draw a circle in the dirt. And you keep a piece of bread under your pillow just in case. You believe in fate, the stars, the seasons, the shape of smoke. You believe that everything happens for a reason, and the reason is rarely kind. You believe in penance, in pain as a path to salvation. You fast, you flagellate, you go without to purify your soul. And when you do good, when you help a neighbor, or forgive a debt, or bury a bird instead of tossing it in the ditch, you do it not for thanks, but for grace, because you never know who's watching. Angels, maybe, or something worse. So you live carefully. You don't whistle after dark. You don't walk alone past the churchyard. You don't say the name of the dead without crossing yourself. And when your baby is sick, or your crops fail, or your dreams show fire, you kneel. You weep, you beg, because belief isn't comfort. It's armor. You wear it every day, not because it's light, but because without it, you're naked against a world that never explains itself. So you keep the faith, and you sleep with one eye on the cross above the hearth, and one hand curled around the charm in your pocket. Because the world is full of powers you'll never see, and only belief keeps them at bay. The work slows as the sun sinks, and that's how you know it's time for the only true reward. Of the day, the evening meal. You're still sore. Your hands are still dirty. But for a little while you'll sit. You'll eat. You'll share silence, or maybe if the mood is right, even laughter. You gather near the hearth. The fire is burning low, but it gives enough light to eat by. The smoke has settled along the rafters. Your eyes have long since grown used to the sting. The pot is already bubbling. It never stops. It's the same pot that was simmering this morning. The same one that cooked yesterday's meal. The same one that's been seasoned not just with herbs, but with years, decades of use. It's pottage as always. A stew of barley or oats, maybe split peas or lentils if you're lucky. Into it go roots, onion, turnip, carrot, parsnip. Dried beans soaked since morning. Scraps of cabbage. Maybe a bone or two from the last pig slaughtered. The broth is thick, salty, earthy. The vegetables are soft from overcooking. The flavor changes slightly from day to day depending on what's been added or what's run out. It doesn't taste good, but it fills you. You eat slowly, careful not to waste. You dip a hunk of bread into the stew to soak it. The bread is dense, dark, made with rye or barley. The crust is so tough it can crack a tooth. The inside spongy and sour. Sometimes it's molded. You scrape that off and eat it anyway. Cheese makes an appearance when it can. It's hard. Yellow. Smells sharp. It crumbles when you cut it. Made from goat's milk, probably. Or sheep. Stored in a cloth salted hung from a beam. Precious. Not because it tastes good, but because it lasts. You drink ale. Small ale. Weak. Barely fermented. It tastes like bread soaked in water. But it's safer than water, which is often cloudy and bitter and full of things that make you sick. On rare nights, there's a treat. A sliver of smoked pork. A dried apple. A spoonful of honey stirred into the pot. It's gone in seconds, but the taste lingers in your memory for days. Food isn't just sustenance. It's survival. It's planning. It's luck. You store what you can in sacks and jars. You dry beans. You pickle vegetables. You salt meat. You bake hard biscuits that last for weeks so dry they must be soaked before they're edible. Spoilage is a constant threat. You check the meat for mold. You sniff the broth. You scrape the cheese. You press your thumb into the apple to see if it's gone soft. Nothing is wasted. Not the crusts. Not the drippings. Not even the bones which are boiled again for broth, or split and scraped for marrow. And once the bowls are empty and the pot is set aside and the last of the bread is gone, the social part begins. Entertainment isn't scheduled. It's woven into the quiet of the evening, into the pause after eating, into the hush that follows a long day. Sometimes it starts with a song, simple, repetitive, sung in a voice cracked by cold air and wood smoke. You hum along. Your mother joins in. Someone claps softly. A child bangs two wooden spoons together in time. You don't know all the words. You don't have to. The tune is older than memory, passed down like a family heirloom. Sometimes it's a story. A man who tricked a lord. A woman who saw a ghost in the woods. A child who vanished and returned, speaking only Latin. You sit cross-legged near the fire, hands warming in your sleeves, listening with wetting eyes. You don't care if it's true. You care how it's told. The best stories are the ones everyone already knows. It's not about surprise. It's about the way the storyteller pauses, lowers their voice, raises their eyebrows. It's about hearing the familiar made new again. Sometimes someone plays an instrument. A pipe, a drum, a lute if your village is wealthy, or if someone made one from scraps. The music is thin but rhythmic. You don't dance exactly. You sway. You tap. You nod in time. Laughter comes quietly. A joke told in low tones. A child saying something odd. An elder misremembering a line from a prayer. You laugh into your sleeve, not wanting to wake the baby. On festival days, it's different. Then the village comes alive. Bonfires, bread shared in the open, ale poured freely, music louder, dancing, messier stories longer. Everyone wears their best tunic, even if it's only slightly less patched than usual. You roast meat. You sing songs with too many verses. You chase each other under lanterns made from oiled cloth and flickering tallow. But tonight is just a regular night, and that means the joy is small but real, the warmth of the fire, the closeness of your family, the way your stomach for once does not ache with hunger. You fall asleep near the hearth, your head on your sister's shoulder, a hand still sticky from ale, a dream forming behind your eyes of apples and music and dancing with bare feet on soft grass. You don't remember falling asleep, but you do, because for tonight the world is quiet and full. It begins with a cough. You don't think much of it at first. You've heard worse. Everyone coughs in the cold. The hut is smoky. The air is damp. But then the cough deepens, thickens, stays, and suddenly everyone is watching. Sickness has arrived again. It always does. It moves through the village like fog, silent, slow, and everywhere. It doesn't knock. It doesn't wait. It slips through the cracks in your walls. It hides in the water, in the breath of your child, in the crust of bread you thought was clean. And once it's here, you remember there is no cure. Medicine, as you understand it, is hope draped in ritual. You have herbs, dried leaves hanging from the beams above your head, bundles of sage thyme, comfrey yarrow. Your mother steeps them in water, makes tea dabs, wounds, mumbles prayers. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. You have charms, a scrap of cloth tied around the wrist, an iron pin hidden in your clothes, a carved amulet worn over the chest, holy water flicked into your stew, words whispered by the midwife as she makes a sign of the cross on your forehead. You have the priest. He visits with a quiet voice and eyes that do not promise much. He brings oil for anointing, a blessing for the dying. And if death comes, he's the one to speak the words as you're buried. But he cannot stop it. No one can. A fever comes fast. You sweat through your tunic. Your body shakes. Your mouth is dry. You drink what you can, broth water, sometimes beer. You lie near the fire limbs, twisted in pain. The world becomes small. The roof above you. The smell of smoke. The faces around you. Your mother doesn't leave your side. She holds your hand, feeds you and sips, dips cloth in water and places it on your head. You don't speak, you groan. You pray. You've seen this before. When your brother died. When your neighbor's infant turned blue in the middle of the night. When your friend's mother simply stopped waking up. You know what death looks like, and now it's crouched at the edge of your bed watching. You think about hell. You think about sins you can't name. You whisper the prayers you were taught. You confess in a cracked voice. The priest leans close, nods, sprinkles holy water. You sleep, you wake, you sweat again. Sometimes you get better. The fever breaks, the cough thins, your body stops shivering. You open your eyes and the room looks sharper, cleaner, brighter. The fear drains slowly. Your mother weeps into your shoulder. Someone sings. Someone brings broth. You live, and everything changes. You walk differently, speak more slowly, notice things. You survived. And in a place like this that makes you rare, but not always. Sometimes you don't get better. Sometimes it's not a cough, it's a rash, a wound, a stiffness in the joints, a strange pain in your belly that spreads and hardens and makes you scream. The remedies are the same. Herbs, hope, prayer. And when those fail bloodletting, you sit in a chair, they tie your arm. They use a blade dull reused sacred. They open a vein. The blood pours. It's supposed to balance your humors. It's supposed to save you. It might. Or it might just make you weaker. There are worse things too. Plagues, real ones, with names whispered in dread, fevers that blister, bumps that turn black, entire villages gone silent in a week. The bells ring endlessly. The church is full of bodies. The grave diggers stop digging. No one knows why it comes. No one knows how to stop it. You flee if you can. You burn herbs in the doorway. You write prayers on your door. You tie rosemary around your neck. And still it comes. Even when it's not the plague, death is close. It hides in the childbirth bed. Your sister-in-law is screaming again. The midwife wipes sweat from her brow. The child is breech. The blood is too much. You stand outside holding your brother's hand, both of you praying silently until the screams stop. And then just silence. It never gets easier. Each burial is a reminder. Each empty place at the fire is a scar. You don't cry much anymore. There's no time. You bury the dead. You cover the grave. You say the prayers. You return home and stir the pot. Because someone still has to eat. You don't have a grave picked out. You don't expect one. You'll be buried in the churchyard near the others. The ground is cold. The priest will speak. And then life will go on. Because life always does. Death is not dramatic here. It's ordinary, common, expected, but never kind. So when you're well, when the fire is burning and no one is coughing and the stew doesn't smell of rot, you give thanks to God, to the saints, to the herbs, to the luck that still holds, because you don't know when it will break, and you fear what waits on the other side. You don't remember when you learned what it meant to be a woman, or a man, or a child. You just knew. No one explained it. No one gave a speech. You watched. You listened. And one day, you simply understood what you were expected to be. Women do everything, not in grand halls or embroidered gowns, here in the dirt, in the smoke, with hands cracked from cold water and eyes lined before their time. A peasant woman rises before the sun. She stokes the fire. She stirs the pot. She wakes the children, gathers eggs, milks, the goat kneads the bread and brushes ash from the floor with a bundle of twigs. Then her real work begins. She spins wool, she patches clothes, she cuts herbs, she mends nets, she carries water on her back while balancing a baby on her hip and barking instructions to her eldest, who's still too sleepy to fetch kindling properly. She does all of this quietly, because there's no glory in it, no reward, just another day in a life full of them. And then there's childbirth. You've seen it. You've helped. A scream behind a curtain, a prayer on trembling lips, a midwife bent over blood and sweat and life itself, the mother gripping a stick, biting cloth eyes wide with fear because she knows this might be the end. Sometimes the baby lives, sometimes the mother does, sometimes both, but not always. And when the mother survives, her rest is short. Days, maybe hours, before she's back at the fire, stirring the pot with one hand and nursing with the other. There's no time for softness, just survival. Yet somehow there is love, a gentle hand smoothing a child's brow, a lullaby hummed in the dark, a cloak draped over shoulders in silence. Men carry different weight. They work the land. They sow and reap. They shear sheep and dig ditches and stack stones. They take orders from the steward. They take pride in the straightness of a furrow, the sharpness of a scythe. But pride is a dangerous thing here. It doesn't feed you. Men are expected to protect, but there are no swords here, no shining armor. Just the quiet resolve to hold the line against hunger wolves, weather, and worry. They guard their families with their backs bent and their hands bleeding, and they carry fear quietly. That the harvest will fail, that the child will cough, that the roof will give way. There are moments when they laugh, a well-told joke, a jug of ale, a memory from better years, but mostly they endure. They are expected to lead, even when they don't know where they're going. Children, meanwhile, are born into labor, not luxury. You start working young, carrying, sorting, watching, mimicking. At 5, you feed chickens. At 6, you watch your sibling. At 7, you learn to weave. By 10, you can split wood, carry water, tend fires, and know when to stay quiet. You play, but only when no one's watching. You make toys from scraps. You chase each other through the mud. You carve figures from wood and stage small dramas behind the barn. But childhood is short. There are no birthdays, no schooling unless a priest takes interest, no indulgence, just tasks. And if you live long enough to grow into a full worker, you've done well. Many don't. The graveyard is full of children who never reached your size. Fever, accident, famine. The reasons are many. The grief is quiet, but it never leaves. You are not mourned with tears. You are remembered in the way your mother touches your old cloak before turning back to the fire, in the way your father stares too long at the cradle no one moves. Family here is not a sentimental word. It is structure. It is necessity. You sleep in the same room, if not the same bed. You share food, tasks, secrets. Your lives are tangled together like threads in a single fraying rope. You know when your sister is upset just by how she ties her apron. You know when your father is angry before he says a word. You argue, loudly. Then you go back to work, silently. Because the fire still needs tending. The pot still needs stirring. The baby still needs rocking. The hut still needs mending. Sometimes a cousin comes to stay or an orphaned niece. No one discusses it. They simply arrive and a space is made. Another bowl, another blanket, another pair of hands to help, and another mouth to feed. No one is turned away. Because one day it might be you. You marry early, not for love, for land, or labor, or livestock, but love may come, or not. You learn to live with each other regardless. You raise children, bury some, grow old if you're lucky together. And in the quiet moments as you sit near the fire and listen to your child hum a song that your mother once sang, you realize this is life. Hard, uneven, cracked and stitched and patched, but still somehow full. The sun hangs lower now. It casts long shadows over the yard, across the fields, against the crumbling stone wall near the village well. The work continues, but the rhythm shifts. Slower, wearier, more exposed. And this is the time of day when things tend to fray. Because in the afternoon, the tiredness sets in, and with it, the tension. Living as a peasant means you are always among people. You are never alone. Your family sleeps inches from you. Your neighbors walk past your door. The sound of voices, of footsteps, of clinking tools, of animals braying, it is constant. And in such close quarters, friction is inevitable. It starts small. Someone borrows your rake and doesn't return it. Someone lets their chickens stray into your small patch of onions. Someone takes too long at the well. Someone gets more grain than their share at the mill. You try not to say anything, at first, because peace is precious. But patience runs thin, especially when your stomach is never full, your hands are never warm, and your sleep is never quiet. So eventually, something is said. A sharp word. A shouted name. A door slammed hard enough to rattle straw from the rafters. Disputes bloom like weeds, fast, persistent. And they're never just about the moment. The chicken wasn't just a chicken. It was your chicken. It was the last chicken from the hen your mother raised before she died. Or it was the third time this month. Or it was a gift from someone who matters. Everything means more, because everything costs more. You don't settle things with fists, not right away. That comes later if the insults grow too sharp or the ale flows too freely. No, first, you turn to the local customary law. In your village, the manorial court is king, held in the Lord's name, presided over by the steward or reeve. There all disputes are aired and judged: petty theft, land boundaries, slander, debt. You stand before the court, bare-headed hands clasped, and explain that your neighbor cut across your field and trampled your barley. They deny it. The steward listens, or pretends to, then fines one of you. That's how justice works here. There are no prisons. Punishment comes in fines, shaming, or labor. Sometimes in stocks, a wooden frame locking your head and hands in place while children laugh and throw rotten apples. Sometimes worse. Stealing bread might earn a beating. Refusing to pay dues might see your goods seized. Harming livestock or people. That's when blood calls for blood. You've seen it. A man with a bruised face, a girl with a missing ear, an old woman shunned for a curse they say she whispered when the butter wouldn't churn. And yet you stay silent, because today it's someone else. Tomorrow it could be you. Justice here isn't blind. It watches carefully and never forgets. And if the law doesn't settle things, there's always rumor. Whispers move through the village faster than fire. That man has a devil's mark behind his ear. That woman speaks to animals in the dark. That child never gets sick. You know these stories. You've repeated them. You've believed them. Because in a world where the rules are written by others, rumor is your only weapon. Social power is delicate, but it's real. Who sits where at Mass? Who's invited to weddings? Who's trusted to hold grain, or mind the priest's house, or judge a neighbor's honesty? You are always being measured by your obedience, your speech, your silence. One mistake, one insult to the wrong person, and suddenly you're the one left out of the harvest feast. You learn quickly how to walk the line, to be useful but not proud, to be honest but not critical, to speak but not loudly, to know everything but pretend you know nothing. And yet there are moments of real violence, a fight at the tavern, a scuffle in the field, a man pushed too far, a woman protecting her child. It explodes, brief, brutal, forgotten the next day or remembered forever. But most of the time the conflict is quieter. Cold stares at the well, slightly burnt bread passed to a neighbor with too cheerful a smile, a favor refused, a greeting ignored. These are the weapons you wield when justice is uneven and memory is long. You've learned the art of surviving not just the land, but the people around you. How to step lightly, how to forgive without forgetting, how to carry a grudge without showing it. Because in a village like this, everyone is part of your life. Your enemy today may share a plow with you tomorrow. The boy who threw mud at your door might marry your daughter next year. The woman you suspect of stealing eggs will be the one kneeling beside you when you bury your father. Everything is temporary. Everything is permanent. And the sun dips lower, and the sky grows dull, and you finish your work with tired fingers and a wary glance across the yard. Because you don't just survive the winter, you survive each other. The sun is gone now, not just low gone. The sky has turned black, not with the deep clarity of a starlit night, but the kind of black that swallows sound. Heavy, endless, cold. You sit near the hearth shoulders, hunched eyes fixed on the fire. Everyone does. Because when the sun leaves, the fire becomes everything. It's not just warmth, it's safety. Because night is when the world changes. The walls of your hut close in softer now. The corners become strange. Shadows lengthen. Every creak sounds like footsteps. Every gust of wind might be something else. You know better than to listen too hard. You don't go out after dark. Not unless you must. Not unless the goat cries strangely, or the wind shifts, and you smell smoke, or you hear something move that shouldn't. Because you know what the night holds. Wolves. Not stories. Not metaphors. Wolves. Real ones. They come from the woods, eyes glowing, teeth wet, searching for chickens, pigs, or worse, something easier. Your village tries to keep them out. High fences, locked doors, fires left burning. But wolves are patient, and you've seen what they leave behind when they get in. And then there are people, desperate people, a thief who knows you have grain stored in a pot under the floor. A man with no firewood, no food, no hope. A stranger who doesn't knock but pushes. Locks don't exist here. Your door is wood barred with another piece of wood. If someone wants in badly enough, they'll get in. You sleep with your cloak nearby, with a blade not far from reach. You tell yourself it's unnecessary, but your eyes don't close as quickly as they used to. The fear comes in different forms. Fire is one. The kind that spreads, that leaps from hearth to straw, from curtain to roof beam, from your home to your neighbors in seconds. You've seen it before, flames twisting against the sky, people screaming, Buckets passed too late, nothing left but ash. And there's no one to stop it. No fire brigade, no water pressure. Just buckets, prayers, and silence when the ashes cool. Sickness is another. It's always worse at night. A cough becomes deeper. A fever spikes. A baby whimpers, then stills. You hold them. You press your hand to their skin. You murmur prayers until your throat is raw. And when they die, you bury them in the morning, because you cannot bury them at night. The dark doesn't allow it. But perhaps worst of all is the stillness, because that's when death whispers the loudest. You've heard it. You've sat beside someone in their last hours. You've watched the firelight flicker in their eyes until it didn't. You've felt their fingers grow cold. And you've looked up at the thatch roof and wondered if the soul passes through the smoke hole. If the saints really wait. If the devil stands just outside the door. You know how it goes. The priest is summoned. If he comes in time, there is oil, a prayer, a blessing. If not, you bury them anyway, and hope they don't rise with unfinished business. You've seen too much not to wonder. That's why you hang charms, a pouch of salt over the door, an iron horseshoe on the beam, a circle drawn in ash on the hearth. They don't always work, but they help you sleep. If you sleep. Your bed is straw. It pokes. It itches. It's shared. You lie shoulder to shoulder with your brothers, your sisters, your cousins. You twist in the dark, trying not to disturb them. You pull your cloak tight. You breathe through your nose to keep out the smoke. The fire burns low. You hear snoring. And something else, you're not sure what. An owl, maybe. You tell yourself it was an owl, but you check the door anyway, still barred, still holding. You lie back down and whisper a prayer, not loud, just your name, just a plea, just a promise to do better, to rise earlier, to sin less, to help more. Because maybe that's enough. And when sleep finally comes, it's shallow, uneasy. You dream of fields, of light, of warmth, and sometimes of those you've buried. Their faces whole again, their voices familiar. You wake with a start. It's still night, still cold. The fire has shrunk to red cracks in the ash. You add a stick. You lie back down and wait for morning. Because morning means light, and light means safety, and safety is never promised. The fire has burned down to a whisper, just a faint pulse of red in a bed of empty ash like the last heartbeat of the day. The wind outside is softer now, or maybe you've just grown used to it. The room is quiet. Everyone is still. And you are still here. You've made it through another day as a medieval peasant. From your first cry beside the hearth to the cold silence of night, this is the life you've lived. And tonight, as your eyes grow heavier and the dark presses in, not as a threat, but as an embrace, let's take a moment to breathe, to let it all go. This world was never easy. You've walked through it step by step, through hunger and fear, through frost and fire, through silence and superstition and struggle. You've worked with numb fingers, broken bread, with aching teeth, and fallen asleep with your head on straw and your dreams barely formed. And yet there was life, a baby's laugh, the smell of bread in winter, a warm hand at your back as you stirred the pot. You found comfort in routine. You found hope in superstition. You found peace not because the world gave it to you, but because you carved it out of what little you had. Your world didn't have soft beds or sweet music or screens glowing in the dark, but it had the rhythm of days, the arc of the sun, the sound of rain on thatch, the familiar hum of voices around the fire. Family that didn't always speak with kindness, but never left your side. And now as you lie there imagining the creak of the beams above the scratch of the blanket, the breath of someone sleeping nearby, let yourself feel the distance between then and now. Because you are not there. You don't have to wake to icy floors. You don't have to haul water before sunrise or ration barley until spring. You don't have to kneel before a priest and hope your sins are small enough to pass unnoticed. You are safe, warm, fed, sheltered. That world, the hard one, the one we wandered through together tonight, is behind you now. And though it was full of struggle, it was also full of realness. Every breath earned, every comfort treasured. So maybe you carry a piece of that world with you, a quiet appreciation, a deeper breath, a slow thank you whispered in the dark. The knowledge that the comfort you feel right now isn't automatic. It's a gift, a soft bed, clean water, stillness, no wolves at the door, no smoke in your lungs, just the hush of night. And my voice, Joe. Still here with you, just for a little longer. Let your body sink. Let the rhythm slow. Let the images fade, plows, cloaks, flickering torches, wooden bowls, icy wells. Let them all go. And in their place feel the softness of the present, the air around you, the blanket pulled to your chin, the gentle hum of whatever sound you've chosen to fill the silence. Breathe in, long, deep, safe. Breathe out. The cold is gone. The fear has passed. The candle is low. And so, tonight, as you drift off, remember. You don't have to wake up in the Middle Ages. Sleep well.